Hey guys, coming around for The Flash, Season 2, Episode 11, The Reverse Flash returns, and I was looking forward to this episode just because of the big what the fuck moment at the end of last week when seemingly the Reverse Flash has in fact returned, and we didn't know why he was back. I was really wondering if this was going to be Zoom's work and how this would shake up the story, and I gotta tell you guys, I wasn't a huge fan of this episode. I really wasn't. Now, let me just say, this was not a bad episode. It's just, I didn't really see why this was necessary. Why do we need to bring back Reverse Flash? What did this do for the story? Ultimately, nothing. I mean, this was pretty much just a filler episode, and to me, this very much reminded me of, a complaint I had with Arrow last season, the episode The Return. In that episode, the biggest problem I had with that episode is that we've already done the Slade Wilson arc. That was the big thing with that episode, is that we had already seen Slade Wilson. We didn't need to see him again because we ended that arc. And with this, we already ended the Reverse Flash. We didn't really need to see this again. I really didn't find it necessary. But let's just get in this episode because, like I said, wasn't a huge fan of it. There were some things that I still really enjoyed. An episode of The Flash, a bad episode of The Flash, and this was not a bad episode, but an okay episode of The Flash is still a good episode because this show, there are things that I always like about it, but let's just get in this episode. Barry's on the streets while Cisco and Wells bicker at Star Labs, and suddenly there's a fuel truck out of control in Barry's vicinity. He gets in, the steering wheel's locked so he can't slow it down. Barry uses speed to get out of the truck and remove all the lug nuts from the truck's tires, grinding it to a halt without crashing. And at Star Labs, we see right away, we find out that Turtle is dead. And obviously, this is something that is a problem because obviously, this was how Cisco and Wells were going to, take down Zoom. And now the Turtle's dead, that plan is obviously thrown out the window. And right away, I'm like, you know what? I thought that was kind of wasted. I mean, we spent all this time on the Turtle, seeing what he can do, and then they just kill him off. I thought was pretty useless. And it's too bad because I really thought they set him up very well. And I can understand if you guys think, oh, the Turtle was a useless character. I really don't. I just feel like they wasted potential. I really feel like that's what it is. It was wasted potential, and very much that's what this entire episode was. I really felt this entire episode was wasted potential. Back near the truck, we see that, Eobard Thawne, he's telling Gideon that he has figured out where the Flash is from, that it's time to start their plans, and at the lab, Barry decides to go to work at the police department while Wells is going to work on closing the breaches, since losing Turtle sets back the plans to stop Zoom another way. So obviously, they need to find a new way to take down Zoom, and Barry, in the meantime, is very depressed. He's guilting Patty, who is still in this show. I thought that she was gonna leave after last week's episode, but no, she's still in the show. And he's guilting Patty about her decision to leave, and as Patty leaves, Joe and Iris come to see him. Now, I am pretty convinced that this was Patty's last appearance. Just the way that this was done very much seemed like a send-off to the character, and this, I understood why they did it. They wanted to give this character a proper send-off. It's pretty clear they wanted to do that. They didn't want fans to be upset by her just randomly leaving. So the fact that she stayed on for one more episode, I like seeing that. I thought this was really one of the only thing of two things I thought was actually necessary here. So Iris tries to give him Patty advice, but Joe tells her that Francine doesn't have much time left, and basically Francine's gonna die, and definitely that I thought was very well done. All the Francine stuff here I definitely really enjoyed. And Iris, who's been severely underused, I think, all season, finally, I think, got her time to shine in this episode. We'll get into that. But Cisco then comes to see Wells, saying that closing the breaches won't work. Wells tells him that he needs to find how his powers work, and eventually Wells gets a burst of inspiration and tells Cisco to meet him in the time vault. And when Cisco gets to the lab, he finds Wells dressed as the Reverse Flash. Also, I loved seeing Cisco scream. That was very funny. He's like, can you please give me a warning before? I thought that was just great. One of the best things on this show, without a doubt, is the bickering between Wells and Cisco. I could honestly just watch a whole episode of Wells and Cisco just, like, going at it. I could watch an entire episode of that, and that'd be fine, because, without a doubt, one of my favorite things of this season is Wells and Cisco's bonding. It's great. I love it. So, Wells says that it's the trigger, but when Cisco vibes, he sees the real Reverse Flash and knows that Eobard Thawne is out there. And at Mercury Labs, Reverse Flash shows up to kidnap Christina McGee, and the Flash shows up to stop him, saying that Thawne died, and Thawne says that's good to know. Now that he knows what time period the Flash comes from, he'll kill him soon, and before Barry can respond, Thawne punches him, knocking him down, and takes McGee. And I really wasn't a fan of this, I have to say, because we've been here before, okay? We got through this whole Eobard Thawne thing, so I really didn't understand why this was necessary. And obviously, they're very confused as well as to what's going on. At Star Labs, they figure that Thawne is from a timeline remnant. This is actually his previous version before he ever killed Barry's mom. And I thought that was a good reveal. I liked finding that out. But again, I didn't really feel this was necessary for this storyline. He was protected from his death by being in the Speed Force at the time his timeline was erased. And despite this being kind of interesting, I really couldn't get into that. But I did find it interesting that basically in, Earth 2, Barry's mom is just, she's inevitably dead. There's nothing you can do to save her, and from what Wells said, it seems that Barry's mom's death has nothing to do with Reverse Flash, so maybe it has something to do with something else, and I don't really know, but definitely really interesting stuff here. Definitely very interesting. But again, I really couldn't get into this because we've been here before, and I really didn't see why this was necessary. In other lab, Thawne asks McGee to rig some Tycon hardware for him. He threatens to kill her if she doesn't, and at a hospital, Francine says that she wishes she could help Wally and Iris, and that if Iris wants to say anything to her, she has to say it while she can, and without a doubt, this was my favorite scene of the episode. Candace Patton really killed it in this scene. I know there's some people that think that she is very underused and doesn't even really need to be on the show anymore, and yeah, I will say that out of all the characters this season, Iris has definitely been very underused. I would have wanted them to do a lot more with her, but I really felt that she finally got that time to shine in this episode. I really felt her emotion here. Iris tells her that her whole life of good memories is now tainted by the regret that Francine and Wally weren't in them. I mean, just think about the situation that Iris has been in. I mean, she has Joe, she's had Barry, but she didn't know that Francine was there, and she didn't even know that Wally existed. So now, all of those memories, she's just thinking, what if Francine was in them? What if Wally was in them? And she tells her that she forgives her for leaving. She would have forgiven her then, she forgives her now. She basically has to forgive her, and she breaks down crying, leaves the room. Very powerful stuff. I really love that scene, and like I said, I think my personal favorite scene in this episode, without a doubt. I definitely really love that. So in the waiting room, Joe hugs her as she sobs, and at the CSI lab, Barry's trying to help Caitlin find the Jay Garrick of Earth 1 so that they can try to use his cells to restore Earth 2J, and that definitely is a very good way to do it, because obviously there has to be an Earth 1 Jay Garrick out there. They just need to figure out who that is. So Patty comes to see Barry and is very confused to see him working with Caitlin. Obviously, she did not know he worked with Star Labs, and I like Barry's explanation. It sounded pretty fake, definitely, when Barry said, oh, well, Joe and I kind of volunteer there. And she tells him that she doesn't understand why he's being so distant, and Barry basically casually tells her that he loves her. Very casually, he tells her that, because he says he's used to everyone he loves leaving him, and he tells her he wishes that things were different for both of them, but they aren't. She says, me too, and leaves, and there's really no fixing this, and I think Barry knows that. There really is no fixing their relationship. I mean, she's off. He's probably never gonna see her again, and it's really sad, but I felt like this made sense, definitely. The way that this was going, very sad, but it just makes sense that really there is no hope for them. There is no, there is no fixing this relationship, because the relationship is kind of, destroyed now. It really is. So, at Star Labs, Wells has modified Cisco's goggles with tech that will activate his fear centers and make it easier for him to vibe on command. And I will say the vibe stuff is very interesting. I just couldn't get into it because I wasn't into Reverse Flash, because we went through that last season, and I really want to see them do something different here. And he sees numerous different events throughout time. Wells tells him to concentrate on the Reverse Flash, and Vibe sees him from the end of last week arriving in Central City. Wells says to try and picture Thawne with Christina McGee, which Vibe does. He watches Thawne murder her after she's completed his machine, and basically, at Starlab, Cisco tells the team that after he saw the Reverse Flash kill McGee, he saw him jump from the tachyon thing and get flung forward, and when the team tries to track the tachyons, they fail and realize that Cisco is actually seeing the future, and they have 3 hours before McGee is killed, and Cisco, once again, was the one that really helped him out here. And I think it's very interesting that in the past 2 episodes, Cisco really has been the thing to help them out, and I definitely really like seeing that. It really shows how far Cisco's character has come. I think they're really trying to do more with Cisco, and I really love that. So at the police department, Joe and Patty start talking about Barry, and we realize that she knows that Barry is the Flash, and Joe laughs it off, but Patty tells him, Perry, who's Perry? Patty tells him that he's a terrible liar and leaves, and you know what? This makes sense. I mean, ever since that crossover episode where Patty went to Star Labs and, was trying to help out Wells, I had a feeling that she was going to figure out on her own. She's not stupid. She's very intelligent. And for her to find out on her own, it definitely makes a lot of sense. And I like that Barry didn't tell her. She just knew. And I definitely really thought that was really great. And I definitely really like that. And there really is no fixing it. So Iris goes to visit Wally, who's working on his car. She tells him that Francine missed him, but he doesn't want to talk about it. He goes to leave. She stops him by telling him about Eddie's death and that he didn't get a chance to say goodbye. And she tells him that saying goodbye to Francine will help him find peace. And I thought that was a very good scene, just the way that she related that to Eddie's death and how she didn't get to say goodbye. And now they need to say goodbye to Francine because they want that closure. Really good stuff here. I think they really did some very good stuff with Iris here, and bringing Wally into the show, I will admit that the actor that's playing him is not the best. I definitely will say that, and I'm not a huge fan of Wally yet. Like, the character points, I don't know, just something about him's a bit annoying and a bit irritating, but just the fact that it's given Iris a lot more to do in the story, I really like, because I really do like her character. I know there are people out there that don't, but I really feel they should be doing more with her, especially when you see the potential that she has in this episode, and I definitely really like seeing that. So with only minutes left before McGee's death, the team is frustrated by an absence of tachyon activity. Caitlin comes to ask Barry about Earth 1 Jay Garrick, but Barry says that there is no Jay Garrick on this Earth, which makes sense, obviously, because Jay Garrick is the Flash in Earth 2. But the thing that doesn't make sense to me is that there is a Barry Allen in Earth 2. We know that. So why isn't there a Jay Garrick in Earth 1? It just doesn't really make sense. I mean, if there's a Jay Garrick and a Barry Allen, why can't there be a Barry Allen and a Jay Garrick? It just, something about that, I don't know. I don't know. It doesn't really make a lot of sense there. So Joe comes to warn him that Patty knows he's the Flash, but before they can get too far into it, the tachyon starts to build up, and Barry has to race to save McGee. He breaks the tachyon device, telling Thawne that he's not going anywhere, and Reverse Flash tells him that he'll find another way home and takes off with Barry in pursuit. He's quick and manages to evade Barry for a while, but Barry tackles him and starts beating him at super speed. Joe tries to convince Barry to not kill him, to just bring him into Star Labs, and finally Barry relents, punching Thawne out, and I'm glad that Barry didn't kill him, because I really wouldn't have cared. I really didn't. I mean, Thawne, like I said, was a throwaway character in this episode. It was only for this episode. I didn't really think we'd see him again. So once they have him in the pipeline, Barry wants to go confront him, but the rest of the team convinces him not to, and soon Barry gets a page, and Cisco gets a nosebleed, and at a restaurant, Caitlin asks Jay about his Earth 1 doppelganger. He tells him to meet him at Hoffer Park tomorrow, and he'll show her the explanation, because obviously, why isn't there a doppelganger for Jay Garrick? There has to be one out there, but for whatever reason, there isn't, and I like that he has an explanation. She asks why, he says she has to see it for herself, and Cisco goes to the pipeline to taunt Thawne and to ask how he got his ring and his costume. He tells Thawne that his powers, which were key to catching Thawne, were given to him by Thawne, and I thought this was a very good scene. I definitely really like this here. And that Thawne is now sitting in a cell that the two of them built together, and just showing that Cisco did all of this on his own is awesome. It's badass, and I love seeing that. definitely probably one of the only scenes with Thawne I actually really like. I definitely really liked that development with Cisco, just showing how Cisco has gone from being afraid of Thawne to basically conquering him and being the one to bring him to justice. I definitely really like seeing, and definitely that was a very powerful scene. That is definitely how you do character development. So Barry then joins Patty at the CSI lab. She confronts him about being the Flash and tells him that she understands everything she didn't understand before. She tells him that if he's honest with her about being the Flash, she'll stay in town. Barry says that he can't do that he isn't the Flash, and Patty leaves in tears. He can't bring himself to do it, and she was gonna stay. I mean, all he had to say was, I'm the Flash, and I understand Barry's point about why he doesn't want to tell her, because obviously he doesn't want Zoom to go after her, and he doesn't really want to have to deal with that, because that's one more person for Zoom to go after and use against him. He doesn't really want that, because let's face it, I mean, if Zoom finds out that Barry likes Patty, he's going to use Patty as bait. He's going to do that, and Barry obviously doesn't want to go through that, but come on, she knows you're the Flash. You just have to tell her, but unfortunately, he couldn't do it. So Barry May in the shadows comes to ask Thawne why he hates the Flash, and Thawne tells him that he wasn't always that, and I thought that was a good scene here, because we never really got that question of why Eobard Thawne hated the Flash, and he says that he'd been obsessed with the Flash, he recreated the accident and became the Flash, but Thawne learned when he started time travel that he's destined to be Barry's greatest enemy, and so he embraced that destiny, and he threatens Barry some more, and Barry's not impressed, and that basically is the reason why he's after him, just because he's supposed to be. I mean, alright, Caitlin calls him a lab where Cisco is having a seizure. They can't get it under control. They briefly get him stable, but then he starts to phase out of reality. Wells decides it's damage to the timeline. Wells figures out a way for Barry to loan Thawne some speed and throw him into the future, so it saves Cisco. Thawne tells Barry that this is the story where Thawne learns about Barry's timeline, about Star Labs, and Wells. This is his origin story, and there's nothing they can do about it except save Cisco. And again, I really didn't see why this was important here. So Barry and Thawne run in the particle accelerator. Once there, Barry hurls Thawne into a wormhole, sending him home. Once that's done, Cisco stabilizes, and that's it. That we don't see Thawne for the rest of the episode, because Barry put him in the future. Now, are we going to see Thawne again? I don't know, but I just didn't really care. I gotta say, I just couldn't get into this. So, at the park the next day, Jay tells Caitlin that he had the same idea about his doppelganger. He shows her a man who looks just like him, Hunter Zolomon. His mother died in childbirth, and he never got speed, so his DNA was never mutated and won't help them at all. The only way to help Jay is to stop Zoom, and basically that's all they can do. They have to stop Zoom, and that's the only way they're going to save Jay. And it's really tragic, because I don't know if it's going to work. I mean, now that the turtle's not there, what are they going to do? I mean, that's a big question. How are they going to take down Zoom now that the turtle's not there? So that night, Wally arrives at the West House, tells Iris he's going to take her advice and go see Francine. He wants her to come with him, and she says she will and gets her things, and I like this. I like that Wally is taking Iris's advice. You know, he's not being a douche, because it definitely seemed the direction they were taking him, that he was kind of going to be a dickish character, but no, he has a lot obviously going on. There's a lot of regrets, and I like that Iris is kind of helping out. I definitely really like seeing that. So at Star Labs, they reveal to Cisco that they sent Thawne to the future to save him, and Cisco's surprised, but thanks Barry that they did that. And when Barry and Joe talk about Patty leaving, Joe tells him that now he's understanding, and Barry has to prepare himself for reality, that he's going to have to make sacrifices to be the Flash. He gets a call. It's Patty, who tells him that she's on the train. There's a man with a gun. He suits up and goes to save her, but it's a ruse so that she could convince Barry to come and face her. She tells him that everything is okay. They exchange meaningful glances before she leaves town, and I thought that was a good way to end it. Kind of too safe, though. I really felt it was just too perfect. I mean, the fact that she just had him save him one last time, I would have honestly wanted that last scene to be her leaving and Barry's about to tell her, but he just doesn't. Really showing the tragic aspect of this all, because I don't really want this to go in a positive direction. I think this deserves to be in a, kind of tragic direction, because while Barry wants to tell her, he just can't, because he doesn't want to hurt her, he doesn't want her to get involved, and he doesn't want to have to save her. He really doesn't want to have to do that, and definitely, overall, I thought this was a good episode. This wasn't a great episode. I really found a lot of it to be very unnecessary, because are we really gonna see Thawne again? I don't really think we need to. I mean, we're focusing on Zoom. We had the whole Thawne thing last year. We don't really need to focus on it anymore. So I really found a lot of this episode to be quite unnecessary. I'm not gonna lie. I really found it to be um kind of not boring. It was definitely an interest. They definitely tried to make it interesting. I just couldn't get into it because, like I said, I feel that when you're done with a villain, you need to be done with that villain, and you can bring it up, but you don't really need to focus on that villain. This episode focused on Eobard Thawne, and really, I want to focus on Zoom. I want to focus on getting there. How are they going to stop Zoom? Because at this point, it seems kind of impossible. I mean, now that the turtle's dead, what exactly are they going to do? I don't know. We'll have to see what their plan is, because I honestly have no idea. Francine is obviously gonna die. We're gonna see her die, and it's gonna be very sad to see. But I like that Iris is giving Wally that closure. I definitely really like seeing that, the bonding between those two. Definitely really enjoyed that. And then as far as Patty goes, will we ever see Patty again? I really think this is the last time we're probably gonna see Patty. Like I said, she's not a main character, and I think the direction they took with this, with her knowing that Barry's a Flash, I definitely really like that, and I'm going to predict it right now. Cisco's going to be the one to save them from Zoom. I mean, if he can do all this shit, get the turtle, and save them from Thawne, basically, well, Barry had to do it, but he did most of the work. Credit to Cisco, because I definitely think Cisco's going to be the one to take down Zoom. But overall, guys, let me know what you guys saw this episode. I really felt that this episode was just kind of pointless. It wasn't a bad episode. It was just an okay episode. Probably one of the more lackluster episodes of The Flash. Definitely, I didn't really find this episode to be necessary. And next week, we go back to Metahuman of the Week. All right, fine, whatever. I understand we need to drag out the Zoom storyline, but we really do need to start picking things up. I definitely will say that. We do need to start picking things up there. But let me know what you guys saw this episode. I will see you guys in my next show, which will be for tonight's episode of Agent Carter, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.